Just saw some images of some Palestinians being blown up today. Every fucking day. Every fucking day I'm seeing fucking babies getting blown up. In Vietnam, we didn't see those images with Iraq. So the 1 million, 500,000, 1 million, nobody knows the exact number. Isn't that fucking scary? Hey, how many people, hey America, how many people did you kill in Iraq? Oh, I don't know. Between 500,000 and 1 million. How many people did you kill in Vietnam? 4 million maybe? 4 million maybe? 75,000 American troops died, which is tragic enough, but 4 million Vietnamese? I think a lot of America is ambivalent. I think they're confused. Some people like America, others don't like America. So, you know, we got baseball caps, we chew bubble gum. America's been cool. We defeated the Nazis. We got constitutions. We believe in revolution. But I think America's losing our moral and legal authority around the world. We're an empire just because we love the power. We love the power, but not the responsibility. The world's not going to put up with an empire that just goes around destroying everybody. That's stormtrooper shit. Haven't you watched Star Wars? The Resistance was against the empire. The Resistance was for a republic. Whether or not Israel should be raping the Palestinians almost plunged Israel into a civil war. So there was a guy who wanted to rape another guy. Israel wanted to rape a Palestinian. They took him behind a bunch of stuff. He gets arrested. And then you had a riot that almost broke out because how dare you arrest one of our troops? If one of our Israeli troops want to rape the Palestinians, how dare you throw him in jail? That's who you are? That's who you are. The majority took the side of the tribe of Benjamin in the book of Judges. If you know anything about the book of Judges or the tribe of Benjamin, they needed to rape the guy, and then instead they raped the concubine to death. They chopped the concubine into 12 pieces and sent him out to all the tribes of Israel, and all the tribes of Israel destroyed the tribe of Benjamin. They destroyed the tribe of Benjamin. Why? Because you can't go around raping people to death. The tribe of Benjamin, what the fuck? Is everybody, is it Israel, the tribe of, is everybody in Israel the tribe of Benjamin today? And what's Exodus say? 21, 23, 25? Jesus Christ says, I am the law of Moses. So the Israelis should just read their Old Testament better. Justice is eye for an eye. Exodus 21, 23 to 25 is the eye for an eye. If any harm follows, then you shall give life for life, eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. You chop off a person's hand, your hand gets chopped off. You stomp on someone's foot, they stomp on your foot. You light someone on fire, you get lit on fire. Wound for wound, stripe for stripe, life for life, eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. That's justice, and it's actually a limiting principle. Because you went and you chopped the person's hand off, I think you should be in jail for quite some time and just lose one hand, and you should lose both your hands. Well, he was just peacefully sitting under a tree reading a book, so I had to chop his hand off. Both your hands, both your feet are chopped off. So eye for an eye, hand for a hand, that's limiting. You chop one hand off, your hand gets chopped off. Israelis should read the Old Testament better. Phocas was a Roman emperor, 602 to 610 AD. So Phocas, he violently stole the throne from the last emperor. And then 8 years later, he's going to get violently overthrown himself. The ruler who steals power by violence and bloodshed is legitimately overthrown by the very same means. Oh, you got power? How'd you get power? You got the consent of the government. You get the consent of the governed. You got elected. You got the majority of the people to vote for you. You stole power by violence and bloodshed. That means if somebody overthrows you by violence and bloodshed, they're just as legitimate as you are. That's how you got your power. So when they overthrow you with violence and bloodshed, you got no ground to stand on. You got no legal or moral authority. Instead, you got to get the consent of the governed. Is that not what America's about? The consent of the governed, federalism, the rule of law, elections, the Bill of Rights, constitutionalism, the three branches of government. I would be fine with allowing the United Nations to determine the order of the world. Let America be isolationist. America first. Let's take care of our country first. I'm okay with that. Maybe we'll get educated about the world and actually pay attention to what's going on. Because when it comes to foreign policy, we got to get it right. Thailand just elected a progressive. And what did the fucking royalists in the Supreme Court do? The royalists in the Supreme Court and the Senate went ahead and invalidated the president. He got the fucking votes. He's a legitimate power. He's the one who got most of the votes. He's the one that should be the president. Instead, a bunch of kings and queens, a bunch of fucking old-ass, curmudgeon, fucking bitch-ass little weaklings. A bunch of appointed fucking bureaucrats, senators, Supreme Court justices, and a king and queen who's been in there for... We need the consent of the governed. Thailand should recognize PETA. PETA should be the king. He should be the president, the prime minister of Thailand. Instead, he's walking away. So the United Nations, the whole idea with the United Nations is to keep one country from invading another country. So when the United Nations condemns a country, then we step up to the plate instead of using our, just using our 900 military bases to steal gold and silver and lithium to make sure Chiquita Banana and McDonald's can rape the shit out of Argentinians. We could turn our military bases into peace embassies and begin to treat the world as our equals instead of militarily dominating them. When you militarily dominate somebody, oppression causes resentment. And while maybe we could get away with oppressing most of the world's nations, especially the third world countries, the ones with no navy and no army and no nuclear powers, we can't oppress the nuclear powers to an extent, because then we're pushing up against a nuclear war. So we can't completely oppress the nuclear powers, and we can't oppress the other 4 countries in the United Nations Security Council. We can't oppress Russia, China, France, or the United Kingdom. Because even if the United Nations said that they were committing terrorism and they were invading countries and they shouldn't do it, well, they could just use their veto power. And then the entire world's condemnation will go away. They can protect themselves that way and their friends. So I'd be for United Nations reform, but United Nations is the best vehicle that we got right now. And that's the greatest generation. The whole point of the United Nations comes from World War II. Stopping Hitler was a good thing. Hitler invaded Czechoslovakia. Then he invaded Austria. Czechoslovakia, the UK and we got peace in our time. No, you don't. That's a Chamberlain moment. Hitler invaded Czechoslovakia, then Austria, then Poland. But it was only after Poland was invaded before the world took notice. Then we started to mobilize to stop him. So the 2 main arguments that say the Iraq war were good was that Saddam Hussein was toppled. Democracy was established and Saddam Hussein was toppled. Saddam Hussein was in power for 24 fucking years. 2 decades? George Washington stepped down after 8 years. FDR got to be president for 12 years. But term limits set the American standard at 8 years. I like 8 years. I like the 8-year term limit standard. No one person should be president or prime minister for more than a damn decade. You get the incumbency bias. You get entrenched, people get comfortable. If you're a popular leader, you get 1 decade. You get the 50s, you get the 60s, or you get the 70s. Then you need to pick your successor. And then make sure you pick a good successor. Make sure you're smart with that. We had a war with the Austrian succession because there's no king, didn't have any damn babies, and then it plunged everybody into war. So making sure you have a good successor. Caesar goes down, but he chose Augustus. And Augustus turned out to be a great leader. So Eisenhower, he took his 8 years and he's got the 1950s. 1950s and Eisenhower are the same thing. They're synonymous. Ronald Reagan, he took the 1980s with his 8 years. And then George W. Bush took the 2000s with his 8 years. So 8 years is fine with me. Saddam Hussein was in power for 24 motherfucking years. You think you're better than our fucking George Washington and our George W. and our Reagan and our Eisenhower? 24 years. Was it because he was so fucking popular? The people kept electing him? No. He had no consent of the government. Paul Biya in Cameroon has been in power for 40 years. The U.S. has a military base in Cameroon. Talk about a dictator who is ripe for a coup d'etat. Equatorial Guinea has also been in power for 40-something years. So we need to do some good shit around the world. Let's get people some democracy, get them a constitution, get them some term limits, get them some federalism, 3 branches of government. People want to say republic, democracy. You're not a republic if you don't have elections. A A republic is a representative democracy. You must have the consent of the governed. Without the consent of the governed, without elections at the bare minimum, okay, maybe you're not going to get a pure democracy where every person votes for every policy every second of the day, which that's the ideal, an ideal or guidepost. But a representative democracy, every 4 fucking years the people vote, and then the damn power structure does as the fuck as they please. This is not hard stuff. This is not rocket science. This is not brain surgery. Paul Biya in Cameroon is ripe for a coup d'etat. So I think it's fun to say a controversial opinion, right? Well, Hitler was a good man. He was so smart. And that's Saddam Hussein, man. We should have elected Saddam Hussein as our damn dictator. That's what you want, you dumb motherfuckers? So removing Saddam Hussein from power, it's hard to argue against that. Getting democracy for Iraq, it's hard to argue against that. But when people say the exact opposite, it's fun to say the controversial opinion, but we got to get foreign policy right. We got to get foreign policy right. To take the side of evil and wickedness because we don't know what the hell's going on ourselves. The elections and toppling Saddam Hussein are good things, and really that's the only 2 justifiable reasons for the Iraq war. Sometimes people say it's better to deal with the devil you know than the one you don't. You topple Saddam and then you get, another person elected. Well, why do you want any devils to run the damn country? You don't want devils to run the country. You want angels to run the country. You want the greater good, either great or good, not bad, not evil, not wicked. Iraq hasn't been plunged into a civil war of darkness. I used to read about bombings happening every day in Iraq, but that was when the war was just starting. I've also heard once that the Iraq war being referred to as a revolution, a purple revolution, because when they voted, they had to dip their fingers in purple ink and people would put up their purple ink-stained finger. I don't like the Iraq war being referred to as a revolution, but my definition of revolution is very simple. Number 1, everything changes. Number 2, that change is good. Everything changed. The American Revolution changed everything. That change was good. The Civil War changed everything. That change was good. World War II, everything got changed and that change was good. So with Iraq, George W. Bush said that it might take many years down the road for people to see the good that was Iraq. He said maybe America's dissenting youth would see the good that was the Iraq war. So it kind of looks like to me, I'm not in Iraq, I don't know what's going on, but I don't hear about these bombings that's happening every day. It looks like they've had 9 presidencies, 5 prime ministers. They've had a bunch of elections. 3 years ago, they just had their parliamentary elections. So Iraq has got democracy. Iraq, people say Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East. Well, Iraq is a democracy. And then Lebanon used to be a kind of democracy, like a weak democracy or something. So there's 3 democracies in the Middle East. And then the idea was you get one Middle East country to get democracy, then that would just spread all over. So toppling Saddam Hussein, good thing. Getting Iraq some freedom and democracy, again, that's a good thing. I hate to say it. They've had 9 presidencies so far, who's just the head of state, and the prime ministers, who's the head of government. So since, for the last 21 years, they've had 5 prime ministers. I mean, we've had ourselves 4 presidents. So why the fuck would we admire a fucking Kim Jong-un or a motherfucking Putin or a Saddam Hussein? It's good that we have a turnover. It's good that we put in new blood and new ideas. A lot of these motherfuckers do the same shit that the last president was doing. So to admire some dictator it's like you don't even understand America. You don't even know why we're here. You don't even understand our Constitution. You've never read the preamble. We're supposed to protect our freedom. Iraq has had 5 prime ministers, 9 presidencies. They just had their parliamentary elections 3 years ago, which means they should be up for some parliamentary elections in a year or 2. These elections are good news. A republic isn't a republic without elections. So that means today Iraq is being governed by the consent of the governed. That's the ideal of America's founding fathers. George W.'s idea was that democracy was going to spread. Once one country got it, the rest of them would get it. So I like seeing democracy in Iraq prevail. I hope it continues. The security situation doesn't seem like there's bombings happening every day there. I wouldn't be opposed to withdrawing today. But since we've held on for so long, it's almost like let the Iraqi people decide. Put it to a referendum. Iraq, do you like us? Do you want us to be there? Do you want us to leave or do you want us to go? This partisan, bullshit, it's like you want to say the other guy is evil and wicked and they're just totally wrong. But they might have some pros on their side. I don't like how Biden withdrew from Afghanistan. We left all of our equipment there for the Taliban to keep. And then when they bombed us at the airport, we bombed an innocent family who tried to immigrate to our country, who loved us. Why? Because they used gas cans to put water in it. And we said, oh shit, that must be bomb-making materials. So I hated how we withdrew from Afghanistan. But I'm okay with him withdrawing out of Afghanistan and Haiti. From 1915 to 1934, America had occupied Haiti for 20 fucking years. 19 specifically. But then we left. I like that. Instead of just conquering nations, just because we want to steal their coal or their oil or their silver or their gold or their lithium or their cobalt, instead of just conquering nations, taking them over, just like Patton had said, we're going to go through them like crap through a goose. We're going to grab them by the nose and we're going to kick him here, kick his ass there, kick his ass everywhere. And then once his ass is kicked, go the fuck home. We're not interested in taking land. We're not interested in stealing your country. We're not interested in stealing your stuff. Is that what capitalism is based on? We have to go around stealing people's shit? And how long do you think we could get away with that? How long do you think we could be the evil empire who goes around stealing raw materials? I would say 3 countries. They stopped Hitler at 3 countries. So if we were just to totally become fucking wicked and just start invading countries just to take their shit, we could just put it for an election. We could have bought Iraq for the amount of money that we spent. We could have put it to an election. And if Iraq said they want to be our 51st state, then we get it ratified in Congress. Then we have Iraq to go to when we want to. Instead of having to get a passport and go to a foreign country, Iraq would be ours. All the money we give Israel, that should be ours too. If we win a referendum, say Bolivia or Chile or Guatemala, say they voted to become an American state and then we adopted them, that would be so awesome to build an interstate system and drive down to Argentina. It would be awesome to drive to Colombia. Instead of militarily dominating everybody, we can win hearts and minds, and then we've conquered them without firing a bullet, without firing a single missile. So in Haiti, I don't hate that we had a 20-year occupation 100 years ago in Haiti. I don't like what's going on in Haiti today, but I'm talking about the 20-year occupation from 1915 to 1934. We were there for 20 years. So let's say we went in there and we fucked everything up and then we left. The fact that we left shows that we didn't invade their country just to take their shit over, to rob them, to rape them, to murder them, to attack them for the fuck of it. We did it for other reasons. Democracy, humanity, something temporary, not permanent. We were not going to be permanent oppressors because we can't afford that shit. Rome went down because they kept expanding and expanding and they couldn't militarily dominate everybody. Too much manpower, too expensive. And it keeps our moral and legal authority intact. So let's say we built some canals and we built some hospitals and schools. The best thing we did in Vietnam was when we did that program where we were actually helping the Vietnamese with water programs. They still have some of that infrastructure today. We go to these countries and we help with their infrastructure. They would love us. We would be winning hearts and minds. We can only get away with a lot of this shit. We can only operate on our coolness for so long. Billy Budd got killed by his own people. Billy Budd was cool as shit. But old Jimmy Legs was after him. Old Jimmy Legs didn't like Billy Budd. So technically speaking, America still occupies Iraq. We have a huge U.S. embassy there. There wasn't a big vacuum. Getting rid of Saddam Hussein didn't allow the terrorists to come in. We got a huge U.S. embassy there. It's 104 acres big. So the embassy in Iraq is as big as the Vatican City. And then it's situated in the Green Zone, which is a 4 square mile radius of land in Baghdad. It's basically a little America. You got little Italy, little China, little Germany. In America, you have all these little spots. So we have a little America in Iraq. And it's the green zone. So the 4 square mile radius, you know, you got all the movies and the pools and the stuff that we have here, the apartment buildings. We're still occupying Iraq. All that's America. The U.S. Embassy has 350 staff members, and there's still a presence of 2,500 American troops there. Obama only promised to get the combat troops out. We left the embassy security forces, and we left the anti-terrorism forces. With the rise of ISIS, we sent more anti-terrorism troops there. So while Biden withdrew our forces out of Afghanistan, he left the U.S. occupation in Iraq intact. So did Obama, so did Trump. We are still occupying Iraq. I doubt having Saddam stay there would have helped anybody. So toppling Saddam Hussein was a good thing. Getting Iraq some freedom and democracy was a good thing. Now, if we could use some of these billions of dollars to help us out, that'd be nice. If we were to withdraw out of Iraq, what if the Iraqi people want us? Put it to a vote. If the Iraqi people want us, then I would be the asshole for saying, let's withdraw. Since we're the empire, we want to be in these countries, right? We want to have our military. We still got military bases in Germany. I'm pretty sure Hitler's dead by now. We got a whole bunch of, like 20 fucking military bases in Japan. And the Japanese people love us. The Japanese people absolutely adore us. And in a way, wouldn't that be nice? To have somebody else pay for your security forces so you could just worry about the economics and the business and the politics and the diplomacy. You just worry about the other stuff. We'll take care of all the violence. We'll take care of the violent crime. You just go and live your life. So there's other things going on in the world. Thailand, Sudan, Congo, Bolivia, Taiwan, Bangladesh, Cameroon. And I like to talk about all these issues, but ultimately, toppling Saddam Hussein was a good thing. It was a good thing. You just want to win your damn argument from fucking 20 years ago? Why don't you get your fucking 4th Amendment back, America? You know what I'd like better than withdrawing out of Iraq? I would like to restore the Constitution where we don't get into these wars unless Congress declares a war. I'd like to get our 4th Amendment back. Shut down that fucking NSA damn system and then say, hey, we believe in the Bill of Rights because we're about freedom. The terrorists attacked us on 9/11 for our freedom. That's what George W. Bush said. They were jealous of our freedoms. And they attacked our freedoms. So then why did we get rid of our freedoms? Don't they win if we do that? We attacked ourselves. So, come on. Goodness gracious. Great balls of fire, America. You know, like,